I've listed 10 items a day every single day for over a year during the pandemic with 3 children at home remote learning. What's up, y'all? It is your girl, Sarah from Sarah's Styles. This is part 2 of my series on showing you processes that I do to work less and make more money. One way to make more money is to improve your processes. If you can now list double the amount of items that you were able to list before, you can make more money. This is something that I did this past year, is really work on improving my processes. And so I'm going to show you guys in this video, we're going to be talking about listing and how I use a virtual assistant to help me list. Part 1, and I will link it up here. Part 1 was about photographing, how I photograph an item, take the measurements, weight and SKU, and put it away in under 2 minutes. And then make sure to hit that subscribe button so you guys can see how I ship an item in under 2 minutes. In today's video, I am going to walk you guys through step by step on my listing process using a virtual assistant. I have used a virtual assistant. I will link a video up here. I did a live with Denali and we talked more about virtual assistants, so check that out if you guys want more information on a virtual assistant. But this is absolutely a way that I've worked on minimizing my hours but increasing my profits. I've used a stateside virtual assistant, and then right now I'm using virtual assistants from Upwork. The nice thing about Upwork, I'm not an affiliate for Upwork at all, but I do really enjoy their site. It took me 1 day to post a listing, interview multiple people, and have someone on my eBay working. A couple tips that I have about Upwork is go through the interview process. Make sure that your job post is exactly what you want, because you really want to make sure that you are getting people applying for it for exactly what you're going to do. So really understand what you want people to be doing for you and write that out in detail. The nice thing about Upwork as well too is they pay out weekly, so I don't have to worry. It is linked to my bank account and to my credit card, but every week they pay them out. That's one less thing that I have to do. I can set hours for my VA and I can change these depending on the task that I have to make sure that they don't exceed how many hours I want them working for the week. You can see a screenshot. It is helpful when you're trying to talk to them and say, hey, what were you doing that this happened? And you can look at their screenshots. If you are someone that wants to make sure that they are working, you can look at their screenshots. However, if you're paying someone else to do this for you and you're micromanaging them, it's not going to free up your time. Just putting that out there. Maybe in the beginning as you're training them, but you really want to find people that you can trust and know are going to do a good job so that you can either spend time with your family, like I am doing with my extra time, or you can spend your time in other aspects of your business. So a couple interview tips that I have as well for Upwork is make sure to ask all of the questions. You don't want to get into the situation where you've hired someone that is not right for the job. You're not doing yourself a favor and you're not doing them a favor either. And something that I've done that has been really helpful is, I'll get people that say, hey, I'm an eBay lister, expert or whatever it is. I'll send them photos and say, hey, here's an item that I would list. What would you title this? What would you price this? And I don't expect it to be exactly to my standards, but if I send them a purse and they come back and say black leather purse, no. If they come back and say Michael Kors Hampton, black leather, style number, blah, 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 and get the price close-ish to where I would price it, then I know that they are starting off at a certain point and I just am going to have to teach them a couple extra things, right, on how I like it, but they do already know. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the process. I do use a virtual assistant for my listing. It is absolutely one of the reasons that I have been able to list 10 items a day. I talk in how much money I make. I do how much money I made video every single month, and I do talk about what that cost is, how much of my expenses that is for me, so you have to figure out if that works for your business or not. The majority of this video is going to be about how to use a virtual assistant for your listing process. If you watched my part 1 video, you saw the photos that I take. This is what the photos end up looking like. You can see here I always start a series off with a sticky note, and I'll make this bigger. This sticky note is going to have all of the information that I need for them to update my spreadsheet. And I'm going to walk you guys through step by step of this. But this information is going to go into my tracking spreadsheet, and it lets them know, hey, all of the photos after this sticky note have this information. I'm also going to walk through my SKUs and tell you how I decide on what to do for a SKU. So every set of photos starts with that, and then I do, front, backs, anything that needs to be shown. This is a purse, make sure that it's real, measurements, and then, oh, this one doesn't have a SKU. Looks like I forgot the SKU. But then they'll ask me, right? But then, so normally I would take a picture. You can see down here, I have a picture of the SKU. But then I take a picture of the weight. So this gives them the information that they need to be able to make a listing. They make the entire listing for me. I review it and launch it, but they make the entire listing, from the titles to the drop-down menus to the price to the shipping weight. I will link a video up here on how I ship, because everyone's shipping is going to be differently. But this weight, I send them a picture of the weight and they know what to do for the shipping from there. And then you can see down here, I do have a SKU. The other reason people ask me, hey, how do you do your SKUs? I do SKUs in a sequential order, and this is one of the reasons. If I forget a SKU, they can go back and say, hey, what's the number before this? 4113. Okay, that's the SKU. When they're not 100% sure, I do ask them to confirm with me, but that is one of the main reasons that I do SKUs in sequential order, because it makes it, when you're working with other people, it makes it much easier to manage and track. So, all right, so I've taken the photos. I don't do a ton of editing. I do use Go because you can edit in bulk, and I will link a video up here. Lots of video linking here, but I will link a video to show you how to use Go. But I use Go. I can do it on my phone, and you can do it in bulk. And I just kind of brighten my photos a little bit. I showed you my setup in part 1. I don't have a very expensive setup. I have nice windows, which helps, but I kind of just brighten them a little bit, and you can do it in bulk. Time is money. It takes me, I don't know, maybe a minute to highlight all the ones that I want to do on Go, and then it just runs on my phone. I don't have to actively be doing anything. Once everything is edited, I have an iPhone and I have a Mac, and so they talk to each other. I don't have to transfer photos between the two, which is amazing. So if you don't have, that luxury of having the two, then you're going to have to find a way to transfer them. But for me, I would simply just come on here and then I export my photos. So I highlight them, I come up to File, Export 12 photos. I'm going to export those, and then I save them in a folder. And I name the folder. So this would be, I only exported one. This would be 4114. It helps me remember. You have to stay very organized when you are working with other people. And I am also working ahead. I have, and you guys will see in a minute, I have about 2 weeks worth of drafts, and I have about 3 weeks worth of photos ahead. Another way that I stay consistent. I did do a video on banking as well, so I'll link that video as well. But every step is tracked and managed. And another reason to do sequential order, if I go into those folders and I am missing a couple numbers, I know something's off. I know I didn't export those photos. I know that they didn't make it. I know maybe I'm missing some items to send to my VAs. Now that I have exported the photos, I keep track of everything. When you are working with a virtual assistant, you want to be able to know exactly what you're doing. I have a spreadsheet. All right, so if you guys have the Sarah Style Sales and Trends dashboard, this is what I use to track and manage everything. This is the import file. You can see I have added in a lot of my own tabs to track and manage things. I have added a photos tab in here, and then my VAs have access to this. So if they have a question and I'm not available, they can come in here and look. So I go in and I put in the file name. Once I export all of the photos, I put the file name that I had, how many photos were in there. So my VAs, if they say, hey, I only got 300 photos, I know like some photos were missing, the inventory numbers that were in there. They update this when they receive these. I update this date sent when I send them. So you guys can see, 170, I have 173 items that are ready for them to draft. And then I go in, if I have any notes for them, I put them in here. This is helpful, or like where just some cross-referencing information. Because I'm using VAs overseas, they tend to work when I'm sleeping. So it's helpful, but it's also helpful if I'm going to give this task to someone. I don't want constant asking me questions because it's taking away from time with my family, or it's taking away from tasks. I want them to be as self-sufficient as possible. So I put notes in here, and then I, for my own sake, just see how many items these are. So these are currently, once I send them, I put there, I have 2 VAs just in case something happens or someone gets sick. I put, I sent them to this on this day, and this is the initials of the VA that I sent them to, and then this is how many estimated items. Okay, so once I have the photos exported, I will go through and compress the file. When they'll send me, hey, I'm ready for my next set of photos, I will compress the file, compress the folder, and I send it to them in an email. I do not use a drive. I've tried a drive. I have tried various different strategies, and this one tends to work the quickest. It takes me 30 seconds to compress a file and to send it on an email. If I were going in and uploading every single photo, and I used to do this, believe me, I've gone through all of the ways. I used to upload every single photo, and it was taking me hours. And I'm like, well, why am I doing this if it's still taking me hours? So now that my virtual assistant has my photos, what do? They create drafts for me in eBay. I use eBay as my hub. It has the most fields to fill out. I do pay one of the virtual assistants to cross-list these items to Poshmark, but all of the information that they need is in eBay, and it's easy to move over to Poshmark. I love getting an offer when I'm making a video. Okay, so I'm in my seller hub. You guys can give them access. I do not give my virtual assistants access to my account. I give them permissions to my account, and it's one added level of security. So if you come up here to account settings, my eBay, and then under permissions, you can go in there and set up permissions for a virtual assistant. Okay, so we are now under my seller hub, listing, active. I'm going to come down here to drafts. These are the drafts that they've created for me. You can see I have 124 drafts. I list 10 a day. So this is roughly 12 days worth of drafts that I am ahead, just in case something happens, they get sick, I get sick, whatever it is. So these are all the drafts. I'm going to open one up for you and kind of show you a little bit about it. They come through and do all of the titles, my custom SKU. So this is important for my VA, for how I track and manage. I'm going to walk you through this. So PM29 with a semicolon. This is for my financial reporting. I do financial reporting outside of my Sarah Style Sales and Trends dashboard. This custom SKU is linked to a cost of goods for my financial reporting. So when I export my eBay reports, I have this custom SKU come through. I can take these custom SKU, and then it links to the cost of good for this item for financial reporting. And then this is my bin number, and I'll show you guys why this is important in part 3, because this tells me where to find my items. It was also in my photos, right? So the bin number is SS, and I didn't show you, but before a set of photos as well, there's a bin number typically, but if I forget to take a photo of a bin number, they can come over here to these photos where it says the photo tab, and I have all of the bin numbers with the associated SKU. So if I do forget to take the picture of a bin number, they can come and say, hey, I'm working on this set of photos. Okay, it's in bin MM. Okay, so that is the bin number. I will talk about that a little bit more in shipping, but this is telling me how to figure out where to find my items, where they're stored for shipping. And then this is the custom SKU, and then the numbers at the end are the VA. So then if I do have a question, or I'm like, hey, why did you price it like this? Or someone's asking me a question and I'm like, I have no idea why that was listed that way. Or if something happens, I have their initial on it, so I know which VA to go to. If you only have one virtual assistant, this isn't really necessary. But like I said, I have 2, possibly 3 VAs, because I had a VA quit on me, and then I was like flustered, not necessarily quit, but her full-time job took over and she just didn't have time anymore. And so I do have a couple of VAs just, in case they get sick or things happen. So then they go through, they fill this out. I have permission for some stock photos, so they put the stock photo in, measurements, right? Is this looking familiar? If you guys watched my first video, their brand, they go through and they fill all of this out. Something I wanted to talk about is before I launch it, the things that I check are really things that are going to get me an item not as described. And one of the big things that's going to do that is a size. So I will come in here, look at the size on the tag, make sure that it matches in all the various places on eBay, and then pricing. They do set my pricing for me. Terapeak is glorious. As you go through and list here, this, if you guys didn't know, this blue rectangle is Terapeak. It's coming straight from Terapeak, and it's saying, hey, the average sale price for this listing is $19. You can see that they have $42. So what I do for them to list, or for them to set a price, is what the average sold price is for the last 90 days, and then 20% above that. Obviously, $42 is not 20% above 20, but I wanted to show you guys something too. If you click on, let me go back. If you click on this see sold listings, it'll take you to Terapeak. And you can see they're just looking at a very generic regular women Tommy Hilfiger blouse, right? Obviously, mine's a bit more specific. It's new with tags. It has various, it has a tie. It gives you some other maybe keyword searches that you want to do here. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to go through Terapeak. I will link a video on how to look at Terapeak above, but I'm not going to go through that. But this is what they do. They come in here, they say the past 90 days, they figure out, find the exact item or the most similar item, and then do 20% above that. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about as well is the shipping. I send a picture of the weight. And for this item, I probably also sent a picture of the flat rate envelope. So I take a picture of the weight, and then if it does fit in a flat rate, or if it does fit in a medium flat rate or a padded flat rate, I will take a picture of that. I like to have two options. So this item, when I sent them the weight, must have been under a pound, right? And so they know I'm in the middle of the state. They know it's under a pound. They set that at $4.99. And I must have also sent a picture of a platted flat rate envelope. I like to offer a first class, but also maybe people want a priority mail. Maybe they want it in that 2 business days. Maybe they want that added insurance that comes with the priority. And so I like to give 2 options when applicable. And then I'll just say this as a draft. Obviously, I'm not going to list it. So once they're done with that, they would come into the Sarah Styles import file, and this is where I check and manage all of my inventory. You have the date it was listed, you have if it was sold. They will also come in and update this twice a week. They come in, pull a report, and update what's sold, the title, the brand, the size, all of the information that you need. And this is used, one, to track and manage. It's helpful for us to understand what we are doing, working together, going back and forth, but it's also the import file into the Sarah Styles Sales and Trends dashboard. If you're new to my channel, this is a spreadsheet that anyone can have access to. It is a template. If you manage your data as well, you can have access to all of these data and analytics that you have here. You can see if you're on track to hit your goals. You can look at your top categories, your top brands, and all of that. All right, if you like this video, do make sure to check out part 1. I will go ahead and make sure to subscribe so you get part 3 to see how I ship one item in under 2 minutes. YouTube thinks that you would like this video. I'll link more helpful video playlists here. And then, like I said, make sure to hit that subscribe so you guys can see part 3.